picture this. You're driving your brand new EV down the I-5 corridor. It's late evening. You've got a great playlist going, and you're feeling, incredibly good about your zero emissions commute.
Right, it's the perfect drive.
Exactly. But then you glance down at the center console, and that little battery percentage indicator is dropping fast.
Oh, man. That is basically every EV driver's worst nightmare.
Right. I mean, maybe a massive headwind kicked up out of nowhere, or maybe that last rural charging station was just completely out of order, or honestly, maybe you just fundamentally miscalculated the distance.
It definitely happens.
It really does. So whatever the reason, you watch that number hit zero, the dashboard lights up in this huge panic of red warnings, the accelerator stops responding, and suddenly your sleek, futuristic machine is essentially a very heavy, very expensive paperweight coasting onto the shoulder of a dark, busy highway.
It's terrifying, especially with highway traffic.
Oh, absolutely. You've got these semi-trucks roaring past you, shaking the entire frame of your car. You are officially stranded. So what do? I mean, your first instinct is probably to call a traditional flatbed tow truck.
Which is what we've all been taught to do, right?
Exactly. But doing that could actually cause catastrophic damage to your vehicle. Okay, let's unpack this, because today's mission for this deep dive is examining a stack of sources from a brand new, rapidly growing micro-industry.
Yeah, the mobile EV rescue space.
That's the one. We are going to look at the regional networks that are popping up, the surprisingly ironic technology powering these rescues, and the businesses racing to become the AAA of the electric age.
It is a genuinely terrifying scenario to be stranded like that, and it gets to the absolute core of what we call range anxiety. What's fascinating here is that as electric vehicle adoption scales up incredibly fast across the country, we're witnessing an entire shadow infrastructure being built in real time.
Ash out infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. It's this localized, highly specialized ecosystem designed entirely to support the edge cases, the human errors, and, well, the inevitable moments where the primary charging grid just simply fails you.
That makes total sense. But before we get to the rescue part, we really need to talk about the danger of the traditional tow. Like, you are sitting on that highway shoulder, cars are flying by. Why is calling a standard roadside tow truck such a massive risk for an EV driver right now?
Well, it really comes down to the fundamental mechanical architecture of an electric vehicle. I mean, they are fundamentally different beasts than gas cars.
Right, because of the batteries.
Exactly. EVs are extraordinarily heavy, and they are essentially giant supercomputers on wheels. They have these massive, structurally integrated battery packs lining the entire floorboard.
Okay.
They simply are not engineered to be dragged or carelessly winched at an angle onto a standard flatbed tow truck.
Which is, ironically, the default move for almost every traditional tow operator out there. I mean, they pull up, tilt the flatbed down, hook a massive metal chain to the undercarriage, and physically drag the car up the ramp.
Right, and doing that to an EV is just a recipe for disaster. First, you have the physical risk. The battery casing is right there on the bottom of the car.
Oh, right, so it's super exposed.
Very exposed. If a tow operator uses the wrong winch point, or if the ramp angle is just slightly too steep, they can scrape or puncture that casing. And that is a multi-$1,000 repair right off the bat.
Ouch.
Yeah. But honestly, the bigger issue is the drivetrain. You see, many modern EVs don't actually have a true mechanical neutral gear that functions when the main 12-volt and high-voltage batteries are completely dead.
Wait, really? So the wheels are just stuck?
Basically, yeah. The wheels are directly mechanically linked to the electric motors.
So if you force the wheels to turn by dragging it up a ramp, you're actually forcing the motors to spin.
You are. And because of regenerative braking, spinning those motors generates a massive amount of electrical current and heat.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that.
Right, because normally the car's computer manages that energy and pushes it safely back into the battery. But if the system is totally dead or locked down, that power has absolutely nowhere to go. You risk completely frying the vehicle's onboard electronics.
That sounds like a total nightmare.
It is. And furthermore, let's say they do manage to safely get your car onto the flatbed using, like, special dollies or tire skates.
Okay, assuming they have those.
Right. Where are they taking you? Tow truck drivers don't want to sit around for an hour at a public fast charger waiting for your car to power up, so they're usually taking you to a dealership, or worse, a private tow yard.
Oh, no. Which means you are suddenly on the hook for exorbitant tow yard storage fees, the flatbed dispatch fee, and you still have a dead car that needs to be charged the next morning.
Exactly. It's an absolute logistical nightmare.
So this mobile EV rescue industry is stepping in with a completely different philosophy. They are essentially saying, well, if the car can't safely go to the energy source, let's bring the energy source directly to the car.
Precisely. The concept is radically simple, but logistically pretty complex. Instead of a tow truck, a specialized service van is dispatched to your exact GPS location.
Okay.
They arrive at the highway shoulder, or maybe a dark apartment complex, or a remote state park, and they provide a level 2 charge directly to your vehicle's port.
Which completely bypasses the risk of undercarriage scraping or drivetrain damage because your vehicle doesn't have to move an inch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once the car absorbs enough energy, which usually requires just a 15 to 30-minute session, you simply turn it on, put it in drive, and leave under your own power to safely reach a proper fast charging station.
I love the concept, I really do. But I'm looking at the pricing from the source materials here, and I have to ask, wait, is this actually cost-effective or just a luxury service for tech bros?
It's a fair question.
I mean, some of these base rates are hovering around $199 for just 20 minutes of charge. For 20 minutes, does the math actually justify skipping a standard $75 or $100 traditional tow?
I know, the initial sticker shock is definitely real, but when we dive into the data provided by MoPower2U, they're one of the pioneering networks in this space. The economics actually lean heavily in favor of the mobile rescue.
Really? How so?
Well, according to their metrics, when you account for all the specialized equipment needed to safely tow an EV, calling for a mobile charge is actually about 11% cheaper than a traditional EV flatbed tow right out of the gate.
Oh, interesting. So that mythical $75 tow doesn't really exist for EVs anyway.
Yeah.
Because of the required dollies and specialized handling.
Exactly. You're already paying a premium just for them to show up with the right gear. And the savings compound dramatically from there.
Okay, walk me through that.
When you factor in the avoided overnight storage fees at a tow yard, the avoided secondary tow to a charging station the next day, and honestly, the immense value of your own time, MoPower2U estimates that mobile charging saves drivers up to 60% in total out-of-pocket costs compared to the cascading nightmare of a traditional towing ordeal.
60%. That is huge.
It is. And then there is the dispatch efficiency to consider. Because these vans don't have to haul heavy vehicles, they are just so much nimbler. MoPower2U reports an astonishing average response time of about 8 minutes in their actively patrolled coverage zones.
8 minutes. Are you
Yep,
kidding?
sure.
You can barely get a roadside dispatcher on the phone in 8 minutes, let alone have a technician physically pull up behind you on the highway.
I know, it's incredibly fast.
They must be staging these vans strategically along the highway corridors, almost like ambulances waiting for a call.
That's exactly what they're doing.
That is brilliant. But here's where it gets really interesting, though. We know the why behind this shadow infrastructure, but we really have to talk about the how. Because the actual hardware they are using to pull off these roadside miracles is deeply, wonderfully ironic.
Oh, you are referring to the primary workhorse of these fleets, the Everroad Hero RH9K.
I am, and I was poring over the specs of this machine in our sources. So, listeners, picture this scenario again. Your high-tech, digitally integrated, zero-emissions electric vehicle is stranded. The rescue van pulls up, the technician throws open the back doors, and they fire up, wait for it, a gasoline-powered generator.
Yep.
Like, to rescue an electric vehicle, they are quite literally using a gas-powered AC Level 2 charger.
It is the ultimate visual irony, burning fossil fuels to save a stranded green vehicle.
It's hilarious.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains so much. It is an absolutely vital mechanical stepping stone in this messy transitionary period of our national infrastructure.
Okay, I'll bite. How is this a vital stepping stone?
Well, let's look closely at the verified engineering specs of that Everroad Hero RH9K unit. This is not some rattling, noisy construction generator you buy at a big box hardware store for a weekend camping trip.
Right. It's like a highly calibrated 200-pound piece of specialized machinery.
It really is. It features a 6.1-gallon internal fuel tank. And the manufacturer states that this specific capacity is enough to perform 5 to 10 distinct roadside rescue sessions before the van driver even needs to think about stopping at a gas station to refuel.
Wow, 5 to 10 rescues on just 6 gallons.
Yeah. It outputs 9 kilowatts of continuous electrical power, and it can peak at 11 kilowatts, delivering all of that through a heavy-duty 25-foot charging cable.
Okay, to put that 9 kilowatts in perspective for a second. Plugging your EV into a standard wall outlet at your house gives you about 1.4 kilowatts. So this generator is pumping energy into the car nearly 7 times faster than your garage outlet, giving the driver about 30 miles of range for every hour it runs.
Exactly. It's a massive amount of localized power. And because it operates in enclosed or semi-enclosed spaces, right near traffic, it's built with strict safety protocols.
Like what?
It includes an electric push-button start and carbon monoxide auto shut-off sensors.
Okay, that makes sense. But the detail in the spec sheet that I really need you to clarify is about the power quality.
Ah, the THD.
Yes, the documentation explicitly boasts that the RH9K produces less than 3% total harmonic distortion, or THD. Wait, dirty power. I plugged my laptop and my phone into a cheap rattling camping generator before, and they didn't explode. Why are EV batteries so incredibly finicky about this THD percentage?
Well, it is entirely a matter of scale and chemical sensitivity. Think about it. A laptop draws maybe 60 watts of power. An EV is drawing 9,000 watts continuously into a highly complex liquid-cooled lithium-ion battery pack.
Oh, okay, that's a massive difference.
Right, and EVs are equipped with an onboard battery management system, or BMS. This computer constantly analyzes the incoming electricity. If you hook an EV up to a cheap construction generator, the electrical sine wave fluctuates wildly. It has high harmonic distortion.
And the car doesn't like that.
Not at all. The car's BMS will instantly detect that dirty power, physically open the contactors, and completely refuse to accept the charge. It does this to protect the battery chemistry from degradation or, worst case, a thermal event.
Ah, okay. So if the electricity is a road, dirty power is like a road filled with massive potholes and speed bumps.
Yes, great analogy.
The car's computer looks at that bumpy road and essentially refuses to drive on it because it knows it will destroy the suspension. Whereas keeping the THD under 3% is like laying down a perfectly smooth, freshly paved highway. The car accepts it without hesitation.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The car's computer recognizes that clean sine wave and assumes it's plugged into a premium, hardwired wall charger at a luxury hotel or something. It accepts the energy smoothly and safely.
That's incredibly smart engineering.
And to ensure they can talk to any car on that freshly paved road, the unit comes equipped with the industry-standard SAE J1772 connector, as well as a Tesla NECS adapter.
Oh, nice. Which means whether you are stranded in a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf, a brand-new Rivian truck, or a Tesla Model Y, this gasoline unit can physically bridge the hardware divide and deliver the juice.
Yep, it covers pretty much everything on the road.
But all this incredibly specific hardware is absolutely useless just sitting in a warehouse. Someone has to actually buy it, install it in a van, and drive it out to you in the pouring rain. So let's talk about the local entrepreneurs, the boots on the ground who are turning this ironic technology into an actual profitable business model.
The entrepreneurial evolution here is a fascinating study in market adaptation, really.
I completely agree. And the origin story of MoPower2U really stood out in the sources. They are a veteran-owned small business operating up in the Pacific Northwest.
Right, they have a massive coverage area now.
They do. They currently cover over 130 miles of the I-5 corridor, stretching all the way from Portland, Oregon, up north to Centralia, Washington. But here's the kicker. They absolutely did not start out rescuing heavy electric vehicles.
No, they didn't.
Back in 2018, their entire business model was delivering portable solar panels and tiny battery banks for people's mobile devices.
They were essentially catering to the anxiety of a dead smartphone.
Right. But they recognized very early on that the concepts of mobility and power were intersecting on a much, much larger scale.
Exactly. They looked at the I-5 corridor filling up with early adopter EVs, and they saw those same drivers getting stranded, waiting hours for expensive tows, so they pivoted.
I mean, it's like upgrading from a squirt gun to a fire hose, right? They traded in those tiny USB cables for high-output EV connectors and outfitted a whole fleet of heavy-duty vans.
And MoPower2U adopted a beautifully simple approach to their pricing when they did this. It's just a flat rate of $199 for a 20-minute boost.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, it provides just enough kilowatt hours to confidently reach the nearest working charging station with no hidden fees or complex zoning charges. But if we look at another source, Vancouver Mobile EV Charging, we see a completely different business strategy.
They operate around Vancouver, Washington, and the Portland area, right?
Right, in a 45-mile radius. They have developed this highly structured, tiered approach to their rescues.
And looking at their pricing sheet, Those tiers really seem to map directly onto the specific level of panic and danger the driver is experiencing at that moment.
They absolutely do. Vancouver Mobile offers a $199 standby boost, but it comes with strict limitations.
Like what?
Well, it is only available during standard daytime hours between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and it provides up to 30 minutes of charging. But if you are stranded on the side of the interstate at 2 a.m., you are bumped into their roadside rescue tier for $329.
Wow. That is a massive jump in price for a midnight call. Why the huge premium just for the time of day?
Because the reality of highway shoulders at night is incredibly grim. Visibility is terrible, and the risk of drunk or drowsy drivers veering onto the shoulder is exponentially higher.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the technician has to deploy heavy-duty flares, wear high-visibility gear, and operate high-voltage equipment just inches from traffic, zooming by at 70 miles per hour in the pitch dark. So that extra $130 isn't just a late-night convenience fee, it is literal hazard pay for the technician.
Which makes total sense when you frame it around human safety.
Exactly. Plus, that tier guarantees 24/7 priority emergency dispatch and covers 15 miles of travel for the van.
Okay, and if you are really out in the middle of nowhere, they have that ultimate safety net, right? The $429 extended recovery option.
Yes. That gives you up to 90 minutes of continuous charging, covers 30 miles of van travel, and critically, it includes a post-charge safety inspection to make sure your car's computer hasn't locked up the drivetrain.
It's just fascinating how these independent local businesses are essentially writing the operational playbook for a brand new service industry entirely from scratch.
It really is. And what is equally vital to understand here is that these businesses cannot survive solely by waiting for people to make mistakes on the highway.
Right, that's not a predictable revenue stream.
Not at all. To maintain steady cash flow and keep those vans operational, this shadow infrastructure has expanded deeply into everyday life.
Oh, the scheduled at-home charging. This part of the sources completely blew my mind.
It is such a brilliant pivot. They are offering scheduled mobile charging for apartment dwellers.
Which is a huge market.
Massive. Millions of people live in multifamily housing where landlords simply refuse to invest in the expensive trenching and electrical upgrades required for overnight garage chargers. So the mobile vans just bring the charge directly to the apartment parking lot while the owner is inside watching TV.
Zero installation required.
Exactly. Furthermore, they are securing really lucrative recurring commercial contracts. They drive to corporate lots overnight to charge up fleets of electric delivery vans and rideshare vehicles on site. So they are fully ready for the morning shift.
Wow. They are silently providing the essential charging infrastructure that municipalities are currently failing to build.
Pretty much, yeah.
So what does this all mean? We've seen how local businesses like MoPower2U and Vancouver Mobile dominate their specific regional pockets. But how does this concept actually scale? If you are a driver taking a massive road trip across the country, you can't just keep pulling over to Google local mom-and-pop rescue vans every time you cross a state line. You'd be endlessly reading reviews trying to find someone reliable.
And that friction is exactly where we see the industry attempting to mature right now. We reviewed business documents from a company called eRescue, and they are currently attempting the massive logistical feat of building America's first truly nationwide mobile EV charging network.
They're essentially trying to build the AAA of the electric age.
That's exactly their goal. They act as a centralized national dispatcher. So instead of finding a local technician, you call one single national hotline, and eRescue software connects you with certified, vetted local vendors in your immediate area.
That's incredibly smart. Right now, the sources list them as having 4 major active hubs, right? Sacramento, which is where their founding vendor is actually located, Portland, Seattle, Tacoma, and Atlanta. And it turns out MoPower2U is actually listed as one of their primary network partners for the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, and the economics shift dramatically for the consumer when you introduce a national dispatch network like this. We discussed earlier that paying entirely out of pocket for a single emergency call can be a pretty painful financial penalty, anywhere from $199 to over $400 just for the battery charging.
Yeah, it hurts.
Well, eRescue is attempting to mitigate that financial sting and build brand loyalty through an annual membership model.
All right, so you basically pay up front for the peace of mind. eRescue offers an annual membership for $149, or a discounted $99 if you get in early as a founder.
Right.
That membership gives you your very first rescue absolutely free, plus priority dispatch over non-members and discounted rates on any future services. And it's not just charging either, is it? They also coordinate EV-safe tire changes and lockout services, which require incredibly specific knowledge of how EV door handles and electrical systems operate.
Exactly. And the local vendors are adopting this membership model as well to guarantee recurring revenue for themselves.
They are. I saw in the MoPower2U source materials that they were running a limited-time May 2026 sale on their own regional memberships. They were offering a massive 30% off, bringing their top-tier Peace of Mind annual plan down from $130 to just $104 for the entire year.
That's a great deal.
Honestly, for $104, having a dedicated professional on call to bring a 9-kilowatt gas-powered supercharger to my dead EV on a rainy night in the middle of nowhere, that seems like the easiest financial decision an EV owner could possibly make.
It is undeniably a compelling insurance policy for both anxious early adopters and high-mileage daily commuters. However, this raises an important question regarding the long-term macroeconomic outlook of this entire industry.
Oh, where do you see it going?
Well, think about the primary stationary charging infrastructure, the massive banks of high-speed plugs being installed at grocery stores, traditional gas stations, and interstate rest stops. As that grid continues to expand, become more heavily federally subsidized, and, crucially, become more mechanically reliable, does a nationwide EV rescue network actually have long-term viability?
Oh, I see.
Or is this entire industry just a highly profitable temporary Band-Aid covering a brief 5 to 10-year gap in our infrastructural history?
Wow. That really is the existential question for these companies, isn't it? Are they building a permanent empire, or are they just frantically putting out fires until the city finally finishes installing the fire hydrants?
Exactly.
But bringing it all back to you, the listener, if you take one thing away from this deep dive into all these different sources, let it be a reassuring one. The transition to electric vehicles isn't just about massive corporations or government grants building thousands of stationary chargers.
Right.
It is about an organic, deeply human, economic ecosystem adapting to our flaws. We make errors, mechanical parts fail, and weather changes unpredictably. But you don't need to let range anxiety dictate your life or fear being stranded on the side of the road, because incredibly innovative local businesses are actively, quietly building the safety nets right beneath you.
Beautifully said. And to leave you with one final thought to ponder as we wrap up our analysis today, consider the rapid forward trajectory of battery technology itself. As EV